Good morning everyone. Today we will start session 4 of unit 2. Session 4 is macros in spreadsheets. First let's know what are macros. In terms of spreadsheets, a macro is a saved name sequence of commands or keystrokes that are used for later use. Means we are creating the macros for a spreadsheet and we can apply the same macro in various sheets anytime, any place. These macros are very much useful when we need to carry out similar tasks on different sets of data, which are stored in different worksheets or different spreadsheets. For example, in a school, when we are preparing the result, the cumulative result, in that result, the name of all the students and their marks are stored in a worksheet for all the classes and all the sections. So, we can apply the formatting on one sheet and it can be copied to other sheets using the macros. It is also useful for generating various bills in an organization or a store where same formatting is to be done on all. So, macros are very useful for situation where similar set of actions are to be repeated with new sets of data every time. Using macros have following advantages. The first is macros automate the repetitive keystrokes and tasks. Second, they reduce the possibility of human error that increases with many repetitive keystrokes and tasks. Third, macros reduce the amount of time spent in basic repetitive computing tasks, that is, they make the things faster. Fourth, these are useful for making complex computation easier to perform by storing them in the name, which can be rerun every time one needs to perform the same complex computations. In OpenOffice, we can create a macro by starting the macro recorder and then performing the actions that we need to be recorded. That means the actions which need to be performed or repeated again and again. Then we can save it with a name, and whenever we want to repeat these actions, wherever in the same worksheet or in a different worksheet, we only need to do is run the saved macro. So with just clicking on the run, all the things that we have saved, all the actions that we have saved would be copied to the new spreadsheet. The steps to create a macro and run the macro are as follows. For creating the macros, I have two spreadsheets. The first is marks.ods and second is marksnew.ods. You can see the structure of these two sheets is same. Both have 5 records and both have the same number and name of the columns. Now, for creating the macros, I would take this sheet marks.ods. Now, I would make some changes in this sheet and I would record them as a macro. Then, I would apply those changes in this marksnew.ods. Now, let's see how to do this. This sheet is marks.ods. Now, to start the macros means I would start the recording. It is like just screen recording. When I record the things, the changes which I made to this sheet would be recorded. And the same changes would be applied to the other sheet where I run the macro. So first let's start recording of the macro and do the changes. Now to start the macro, we have to go on the tools. On the tools tab, there is an option macro. When you click on macros, it has certain options. I would click on record macro. As soon as I click on record macro, you can see a small menu comes here which has the heading record macro and there is a button for stop recording. Whatever changes now I do, it would be recorded. When I complete, I have to click on this stop recording button so that the recording of the actions would be stopped. Now let's start. I would type here marks of class 10th A. Okay, I return this. Now I would format this also. I would make some changes and make it bold. I would underline it and I would change the font size to 50. Apart from that, I would also do some changes in these headings. I would change their color to say blue. Now one more thing I would do, I would find the sum of this column here in this column. So I would write their total. This total I would write in the bold, right align and underline. Now I would find the total of this column, so I would put here equals to, then the name of this column, then plus name of second column, then plus third column, then plus fourth column, then plus and this fifth column. Then I would press enter. So the total of this column comes out to be 20. Now these changes are done and all these are recorded as macro. I would click on this stop recording. As soon as I click on stop recording, it would open a small window. In this window, I had to write the name of the macro. With whatever name I want to say this, I would write there. So I would write here add marks. So this is the name of my macro. The macro that I had created is named add marks. Now it is being saved in my macros standard module 1. If in your system it comes like this, so you have to click on this standard and select module 1. Your macros would be saved in this module 1 only. So after clicking on this module 1, you have to write the name here. I would write the name add marks. Then you have to click on save. When you click on save, the window would close and this macro is saved in your macro. So what is we have done in the macro? We had put this heading, we had changed the color of this header row, and we had found the total. So all these things are recorded as a macro. Now I have to apply all these changes in the same sheet, that is in the marks new. This is also the sheet which is exactly similar to that, only the data is different. The records are different, the values are different, but the number and heading are the same. The number of columns, the number of rows are the same. So I would run my macro in this sheet now. Now to run the macro, again I have to go on the tools tab. I would click on macros. When I click on macros, it opens a menu. I would select run macro. When I click on run macro, it opens a macro selector window. That means we have to select which macro to run. All the macros that we save, they would be saved on your system. So you can apply any macro anytime. So I would click on this my macro. I would click on standard. I would click on this module 1. When I click on module 1, all the macros created by me on this system would be shown. Now I want to apply this add macros now. I want to run this add marks macro. So I would select this and click on run. As soon as I click on run, you can see all the changes are being applied in this marksnew.ods also by itself. By simply clicking on run, all the changes are applied. The heading is applied that we had done there. The first row, that header row's color has changed, and the total is also found. In previous sheet the total was 20 because the data was different, but in this sheet you can see the total is 70 because the data here is changed. So the formula is being applied using the macro. So these macros can be very beneficial for us in such situations. In this sheet we can find the total of other rows also, and we can record them as the macro. And when we apply to other sheet, by a single click we can apply all the formulas and all the formattings in this sheet also. This way these macros are very beneficial.